Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media. All the disinformation and misinformation, we want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Welcome to Total Truth Show episode 102. And I'm so excited about today's topic and guest, which we'll come to shortly. But firstly, Ken Kleinberg, my co-host from San Diego. How are you going today?
Doing amazing. And you?
Fantastic as always. We do have the vivacious, beautiful Trish Springsteen with us here in the studio, and we have a fantastic topic for you today, the truth about communication and leadership. Now, a little bit about Trish before we get into the topic today. She is known as the Purple Unicorn. Working with you to be the unicorn in your business, having the confidence and self-belief to own your uniqueness, speak and share your message is her specialty. She is a speaker, a mentor, a get known, be seen specialist, a multi-international award-winning mentor, international award-winning best-selling author of 22 books, the host of Get Known, Be Seen Web TV, the editor of Speak Up with Trish magazine, featured in the Corporate Escapist, Rise, Motivate and Disruptive Author magazines. And I have known Trish for, probably about 10 years now, I would say. And I am in one of her books, actually, called Forever Changed by Suicide, which we launched in 2021. We did the book together. I have a chapter in the book. And it was a really fantastic project to be involved in, and particularly at that time, just at the start of COVID, Forever Changed by Suicide. We know there's been 4 times the suicide rates now since this whole pandemic. So it's a very, very relevant and, in fact, probably ahead of its time for what was to come. Trish, welcome to the show.
Hi, absolutely delighted to be here. And just so you know, that's it. That's the book.
That's the book. I love it. And why did you decide to do that book, Trish?
I did that because in 2007, we lost our son, Craig, to suicide. And at that time, and it's improved a little bit, but not so much, people just didn't know what to say. And what I saw was a lot of people, when they lose a child, whether it's to suicide or lose somebody, they often close up and they don't talk about that person. And one of the things that I specifically remembered saying to his friends was, please don't forget Craig. He'd been on this earth for 23 years. And I didn't want people just to forget him. I wanted people to remember the time that he'd been on this earth. So I thought I would like to have I did the book because I wanted people to have that opportunity, whether they'd been through that and came out the other side, or lost people, or even helped people, to have that opportunity to remember the person they'd lost and be able to share their stories. In other words, encouraging people to talk about that loss, talk about the person, because often they just closed off. And there was someone who'd lived here for like 13 years, 20 years, 30 years, but they'd forgot all about all that time. And there was so much of that time that they could be sharing. to remember their person, remember their footsteps on this earth.
Yeah, that's I'm so sorry to hear that, Trish. I cannot imagine how hard that would be for a parent to lose a child to suicide. I know a lot of people have been touched by suicide or forever changed by suicide in some way. I've personally had 4 friends who have suicided. I've had depression myself over the years. I know what it's like having depression and feeling like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I think when you've been through that, I think it makes you even more grateful for what you have. It's actually why I started the Good News Day and the Global Good News Challenge, to help share more gratitude and good news, and to focus on, the beautiful times that we had with the people while they're here on the planet. And I think, something we've seen a lot through the pandemic is that we've seen a lot of people die unexpectedly soon, whether it was suicide, and we know, 1 million people a year worldwide suicide. That's the stats, right? 4 times that since COVID. A lot of mental health issues out there. I think this is where our topic today is really, really powerful. The truth about communication and suicide. Because one thing I know, people who've suicided, they've generally felt very alone. Now, my first girlfriend who suicided, she was 31. And she seemed like she had a whole life together. She was, vivacious. She was out there. She was a communications manager at the airport. She had her own house. She had a great boyfriend, a wonderful family. Yet it was in one day she decided to end it all. And the other 3 friends that suicided were guys in their early 40s. And that's a very high statistical range of suicide. So communication and leadership. Now, with the people that I know that did suicide, they felt very alone. They had issues with being able to communicate with people around them, and to be able to share what was going on for them often is an underlying thing that I've found with the people that I've noticed that have suicided in my life, that there's been moments where they've felt very, very alone. And I think it's so important to realize you're not alone, and to be able to communicate and to express yourself as the beautiful miracle of life that we each are. So that topic there of communication, how important has that been for you, Trish, to communicate effectively yourself? And you obviously teach people about this because you're a speaker, mentor, etc. So can we just drill down on communication firstly with our topic today? How important is that? And what do you say to people who maybe don't feel so confident communicating with others?
Well, from my personal experience and my views and the people I've been connected with, I absolutely believe that speaking and communication underpins everything you do in this life. If you are able to get up and say to people, I'm not happy about what I'm doing, or I want more money, or I'm not happy about my job, I need someone to help me expand my personal growth, I'm being bullied at school, to be able to even just be able to say those things and to be able to have that confidence to start that conversation. I think that's so important. And I think with our young people today, when they come out of high school, they're going to go into interview situations. They want to get a job. Now, nowadays, in any of that, the skills and that are all about the same. If you look at anybody going for a job, you've probably got the same resume. You've done much the same experience, much the same expertise. The only thing that is going to make you stand out from someone else and get that job is the interview. And at the interview, it's all about communication. Mm-hmm. It's all about being able to speak. It's all about being able to answer impromptu questions coherently, competently, and concisely. So if you've got speaking skills, if you've been given some communication skills, I think you have a very solid foundation to go forward in your own career or your own personal growth. And I don't think those skills are given as much or as easy or as often as they could be. If you go and talk to any company, any business, and ask them, what are the top 3 issues that you have? I can guarantee any of the statistics, any of the quizzes, any of the polls, any of the surveys will tell you 1 or 2 is communication. But then when you delve into those companies and you delve into those businesses, what are the ones that they're training? It goes out the window. They train for the hard skills, the IT skills. I mean, they told you that their problem is communication. and then they just throw it out the door, and they don't do as much to help expand their speaking and communication skills within their organization. And the same holds for people when they start a business. They do a lot of work on their business in putting in their business plan and their marketing plan, their logos, their branding, their website, all of that, which is extremely important. And then they sit back and forget that they need to let people know what their passion is. They need to communicate. So I've seen all that, and I think, it's important. If you've got those skills, you really are ahead of the race.
Yeah, 100%. And I think communication is really closely tied in with your self-worth and your self-value, because one thing I've noticed, growing up, I was bullied as a kid. I never felt I belonged. I felt like the misfit. I actually felt invisible for a long time. I had invisible friends, believe it or not, growing up. I was incredibly shut down, incredibly shy. And now look at me, right? Now there's like nothing holding me back. I speak up about all sorts of things. And a lot of that has had to do with the personal development work that I have done. And a lot of it has come through the school of hard knocks as well. It's come through being streetwise. I got kicked out of home at 15. It was one of the best things that my dad could have done for me, is kick me out of home at 15, because everything he said to do, I did the opposite. I was a complete rebel. If I was him, I would have kicked me out as well. And it was actually a blessing in disguise. And thank goodness I didn't suicide. And thank goodness I didn't go completely off the rails. And thank goodness I was able to turn my life around. However, everyone's got their own journey. And for me, a huge thing in my communication journey has been to do the personal development work, to have faith in myself, to believe in myself, to know that when people are nasty, it's not about me. It's about them. That hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
It is not about you. And a lot of people have issues with communicating and speaking up because they're worried about what other people will think or what other people will say. We have this imposter syndrome thing. It's all about rise to the middle in Australia. We're not taught to stick our neck out. We're not taught to be seen and heard, to speak our truth about things. And this is what the heart of our show is about speaking our truth on things. And I know for Ken, this has been quite a journey for you too. Ken, would you share, please, your journey with speaking up and with being seen, heard, and communicating effectively?
What part of that journey do you want me to share? Because that's a big old giant can of worms. So what specifically do you want me to share about that?
Well, I know when I met you online networking, it was actually through COVID. I'm very grateful for COVID that I met you, Ken. I found you very confident, and I found you very proud of yourself because you'd lost so much weight. Maybe actually give people a little bit of background on that, because I would say that whole journey of you going from being massively overweight to losing all that weight, and now you coach others around weight loss. You would have built a lot of self-worth and confidence during that journey, which also would have enabled you to speak up more. So can you share a bit about that?
So what's interesting about that? So so I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've kept it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet, and having that be sustainable. And that's one of the things that I impart to my clients and teach my clients. In fact, I was just talking with one the other day on this subject, making that journey sustainable, taking it one step at a time, one piece at a time. I think where a lot of the boldness came with me, because here's also part of the story that not a lot of people hear about, or not a lot of people know. They see me on camera today, and they see like my boldness, my confidence, and everything else. And it does mean a lot that you said that to me, because I think back when we met in the networking group, I was still kind of finding my place out here in the business world, just a little bit here and there, building my brand and just kind of figuring out what my messaging was going to be and everything else. And the funny part about that is summer of 2020, when I launched my brand and company, I had my founding mentor, Mike Montez. He's been on our show twice. And I just remember a couple of the conversations we had were around getting on camera, communicating with people, going live on Facebook, all those things, right? That literally terrified me. I had worked very hard to keep my Facebook account private, right? I didn't want certain people to see what I was doing, family members and everything like that. And that was another thing he kind of ripped from me. He's like, yeah, you know what? Your Facebook there, He's like, it's no longer your personal account. It's now your business account. And I was just like, thanks. And, I got to give him kudos because I know that he handled a lot of the backlash that I gave him, a lot of the whining that I gave him, but me confident in front of the camera in the beginning, hell no, I was not. As a matter of fact, I considered myself so bad whenever I did a video or something like that, I would usually pre-record videos so I can edit the shit out of them, literally. And I'd spend like an hour or two just in editing every single word I did not like, every all those little quirky things that we do. I would edit every single one of them. And it was, looking back on that now, I think I was just way overly ridiculous, but I wasn't confident. That's why. And then the more I did it, the more I got in front of the camera, I got used to it and I got confident. And now it's literally what I do. I have my own show, Expert Interviews with Ken, that I do. I have this one that Aldwyn and I co-host. We're on episode, 102? This is like second nature to me now, but I did not start there. And so it is important to learn those skills. Okay. So not just communication, but just learning the skills of what to say. A couple of things I was writing down as you were talking, Trish. I had to learn the messaging. I had to learn that it's about telling people what they want to hear. And then when they're in your program, then you get to tell them what they need to hear, which is often very different. And I had to learn these things over time. But another angle on where I got a lot of my confidence from in communication and different things like that is, again, going back to summer of 2020, I literally became enlightened, let's just say, around a lot of interesting things going on at that time. And one of them is what I love to call the scamdemic. And through asking a lot of questions and different things like that, I had a friend that gave me a 3-hour documentary to watch on the fall of the cabal. And needless to say, the rest is history. But it didn't end there. Through my deep dive studies, I began learning about the food and health industry. And I began learning how massively we have been deceived and lied to all these years around, almost everything that mainstream establishment touts as healthy. It's a lie. And it became then my passion to boldly stand up and expose those lies and deceit to my clients and to the people that I have the opportunity to touch, and empower them with the truth. And so that is where I get a lot of now my driving boldness and driving force is from that passion that I have. I'm tired of this industry and establishment enslaving people with their industry processed foods that's actually designed to create addictions and snacking issues and emotional eating. And yes, you heard me right. It is literally designed to create that in you because they want you coming back into their system, buying their products, and so they can make money off of you. That's not an exaggeration. That's the cold hard truth. But I mean, that's not the point of why I'm bringing this across. When I found that, that's where I got a lot of my boldness. And now working with the coach that I have now, we are very heavily working on my communication skills, the messaging around that, how to get that out and how to have it speak to other people, how to, just all those things. So I'm hoping all of that answered that question. There's a lot of different angles I can take with that. And you can tell as I go down these trails, I start getting really passionate and I can become a fire hose. So I'm having to hold myself back. It's like this, and this. So I'm just trying to be really, vague, if you will.
No, that's awesome, Ken. And there was so much gold in what you just shared. You talked about having a mentor, right? Now, this is about leadership as well, right? Communication and leadership. You've had mentorship. It's been a journey. Same with me, yes. Right? I wasn't always confident on camera at all. In fact, my first TV interview at age 11, I froze on camera. It was shocking. It was the worst interview ever. I mean, I was just 11. However, still, whether you're 11 or 51, as I am now, we all start somewhere. And, perfectionism, you touched on, like editing the ums and ahs. I did 3 years of Toastmasters, and they actually count your ums and ahs in Toastmasters. And I still say ums and ahs, right? And I say
Now
so's.
I'm not so now I'm not so much of a editing Nazi. Like, I do edit some, but I've gotten to the point, my confidence has gotten to the point, right, where I can literally produce interviews or whatever it is with very little editing that I have to do. And I do leave in some of those ums and ahs. And why I now leave those in is because it's natural. It's not necessarily natural to
Yes.
have something that's completely and ah free. That's not the real
Yes.
world. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yes. And did you know that AI platforms now are adding these ums and ahs and things because they are wanting to come across now more like human beings rather than robots? And they're actually adding these imperfections or perfections, however you want to look at it. We're perfect in our imperfections, right? Everyone's perfect. We say we're not perfect, but that noticing the conversation. So, yes, so fascinating. Trish, back to you. I want to hear more from you. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, look, there's a lot that was just covered there. Well, I can actually relate, because anybody who knew me way back in the Jurassic period, which is when I left high school, would be falling around the floor laughing if I told them I was on a show like this, or that I did speaking, or that I was helping people to speak, that I was an author, that I did videos, that I trained people. That was not in my absolute sphere of even projective thinking. It wasn't me. So I'm still very much, at that time I was an introvert, but also extremely shy. I am still very much an introvert, but I'm not quite so shy. And the same thing, Kim.
I have recently realized I'm both. I'm like, I can be both. Yeah. So anyhow, go ahead.
They're completely different things. I think people erroneously think that if you say you're an introvert, that means you're shy. No, it means one is how you harness your energy, and the other one is how you actually interact socially.
Yeah.
So my energy wise, I'm an introvert. I can get out there. I know how to harness my energy. I know how to get up and speak to whatever number of people I need to. I know I can walk into a room. It's always still difficult for me because that's not my natural, but I can do it. And I also know when my energy is starting to deplete, when I know I've got to go outside for 5-10 minutes and just get my energy back. I'm not quite so shy. I can make conversations. I can get up and speak with people. So the shyness bit is gone, but the introvert still stays. And that whole concept of I'm not good enough, I'm not going to start my business, people are going to cut me down. I mean, in Australia, we have this tall poppy syndrome, and it just means that don't you dare put your head above the crowd, because if you put your head above the crowd, they're going to just cut it off. They're going to pull you down. Now, the problem I say to people is if you don't put your head above the crowd, in other words, don't embrace your uniqueness, don't be the unicorn, no one's going to find you. Honestly, there are so many speaker mentors and speaker coaches out there. There's so many accountants out there, so many business coaches, lawyers. You pick any profession that or any business that you want to be in, you have got competition. You've got people doing something similar. You need to stand out. And that's where the communication and speaking comes in, because you need to be able to tell people, here I am. You need to be able to reach the people who are looking for you. And if you don't put your hand up, they're not going to find you. They'll find someone else. I mean, one of the things that I say to people is, or things that I've learned, is that the only person that has absolute control over your attitude, how you respond to others talking to you, what they think, or how you respond to competition, is you. You cannot control what other people are going to say. You cannot control what their perception of you is going to be. But you can control how you react. You can control how you believe in who you are. So when you can do that, then you can be who you want to be. You can be the person you want to be. And in today's world, I believe absolutely that you have to be you. You cannot be anybody else. And a lot of people come to me as a speaker mentor, and they come to me and say, look, Trish, I want to be able to speak. I want to be able to speak just like that person. And they get a bit shocked when I say, no, you can't speak like them. Why not? I say, because you are not them. You have to be you. Only we work to be a better you. And everybody has some sort of skills in speaking and communication, some basic skills in their own personal growth. It doesn't matter who you are. You'll be good at something. When it comes to speaking, some people might be more humorous than others. Some might be more charismatic. Some might have much better skills at putting together a structured speech. It doesn't matter. You all have something that's great. So you work on that. And then you look at and you delve deep. And this is why I say, when you believe in yourself, it is a solid foundation against imposter syndrome, against that negativity. When you believe in yourself, it means knowing who you are. Absolutely. Warts and all. You delve deep into who you are. And that means knowing, I'm really great at this. I'm freakingly awesome at that. I'm not so good at that. So maybe I need to work on it, or else find someone who can fill those holes in what I want to do. When you know that, it's really hard for imposter syndrome to pull you down. It's really hard for other people to push their thoughts on you, because you can say, okay, that's your opinion. I know who I am. I know what I'm good at. I know my expertise and my experience. So thank you for your opinion, but I know where I'm going to be, and that's me. And I'm going to hold myself to the truths and values and vision of what I want to do, because that's me. And that's really powerful. And it took me a few years, people, to understand that. I'm a bit of a slow learner. It took me a bit of time to find it. But I have no problems now. Absolutely, I will tell you, I am freakingly awesome.
That is very, very powerful. And the other thing I want to add to what you said, you kind of already alluded to it, but I'm going to be very specific with it now. And it's, you can also control who you listen to and what you let in as a belief for yourself. Some might say words are spells. The Bible in James chapter 3 talks about our tongue having the power to give both life and death. And if our tongue and our words are that powerful, we must be careful on what we let in ourselves. Anybody can come along and say, well, you this, and this, and this, and this, and you're this, and you're that. And at that point, when those words are uttered, you now have a split-second choice. You can, in that moment, let it sink in and become a belief, which means then you're under those, the spells of those words, if you will. Or you can choose a different way, and you can choose to see that person and know that that's coming from their matrix world. That's not your world. That's coming from their thought patterns. That's coming from their mindset. That's coming from who they are. And yeah, so you also have control on what you listen to and who you let in and the beliefs that are formed from that. So anyhow, back to you, Trish.
Well, that reminds me of that, what is it, little quotation. It says here, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, or names will never hurt me. And I've always thought, I don't actually agree with that. I can heal from sticks and stones, but we see so many times what words will do. And when you grow up, and a lot of times what people who come to me for speaking, it's because they've been told they can't speak. They've been told they've got no stories, or they've seen someone get up to speak and have a disastrous experience where everybody's thrown crap at them and told them they were awful and never do it again. And when we grow up, we're told, don't do this, don't do that. This is going to happen, or that's going to happen. And yeah, okay, we need some guidance around certain things. But if we keep buying into what we're told, that we can't get up and speak, we can't do this, don't go out and try and do something, because if you go and start a business, you're going to fail. If you go and want to improve yourself, it's not going to work. If you're going to write a book, everybody's going to laugh at you. That's words. And that's what I find is the barrier for a lot of us to get up and do what we want to do, to actually push our comfort zone out there, to have the confidence to believe in ourselves and to do what we want. It's, as I say yes to things, because what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is if you don't say yes, nothing's going to happen. Absolutely nothing. And it's the same thing when people come to me with their fear. I say, okay, you're afraid of speaking, or you have a fear of your peers hearing you. If you don't get up and share your message, there's a couple of things. One, you're going to be selfish, because one person out there needs to hear your words. There's one person out there that needs to hear your video. One person out there that needs to hear what your book's about, needs to read your book, needs to hear those words. And if you let fear stop you, that person is never, ever, ever going to hear what may need to be changing their lives at that specific moment. So I say, fear, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, the worst that can happen is all those things that you've got in your mind will happen. Well, what's the problem? You've already bought into all of that. So that's the worst. But what's the best that can happen is if you push through your fear, the best that can happen is that one person hears you. The best that can happen is that you have stood up and aligned yourself with your values, aligned yourself with your vision. You've aligned yourself with the message that you want to share, and you've stood up and shared it, and you own who you are. So, hey, the worst is already in your mind. So just go ahead and do it, because the best is going to happen.
Yes, I love that. One of my mentors, Sam Cawthorn from Speakers Institute, he always says the best is yet to come. He keeps reasserting this positive, the best is yet to come. Yes. I love that. And so much gold I want to touch on there. With this, sticks and stones will break my bones, names will never hurt me. I was bullied as a kid. So names hurt me, particularly as I realized later in life, because one of my main love languages is words of affirmation. For those who know the 5 love languages, we have acts of service, where you're doing great things for people. Words of affirmation is you receive love by the things that people say. Receiving gifts is another one. Gifts is another high one for me. Quality time. Some people just want more time with you all the time. That's the quality time. Or physical touch, right? So which love language are you? Let us know, actually, those joining us live. I know there's a whole lot of people joining us right now on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. Welcome, wherever you are joining us. We've got Abdul here. Abdul Rubber Bay says he's loving the convo. Thank you so much, Abdul. Great to have you with us on Facebook. He says, absolutely, from an earlier comment, absolutely too conscious of others while doubting oneself. Yes, many people are too conscious of others and doubt themselves. And this is where the building that self-love is so important. So let us know, for those joining us live right now, what's your main love language? Usually we have a main and a secondary, right? So which is your main, if you know it, main love language out of the 5 love languages? And what is your second? And we've got acts of service again, words of affirmation, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Now, this topic today is about the truth about communication and leadership. To be a great leader, it's important to understand what is your main love language and what is the love language of those around you. Now, this is something we do with our teams. We do this in the hiring process. We actually look at what is your love language. We actually do a test with people, because you can do a free test online to find out what love language you are as well if you don't know. So you can hop online. There's all sorts of websites you can pop in there and answer a few questions, and it'll give you your main love language. Okay, so what is your love language? Acts of service, words of affirmation, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Now, there's 3 things that are crucial for any successful relationship. Now, when we talk about communication, now there's the words we say to ourselves, and then there's the words we say to others. Now, when we're looking to build relationships, 3 main things, and this has stuck with me. I heard this many years ago. 3 main things for successful relationships, and they're actually the 3 C's. So we have commitment, right? We have commitment, we have communication, and compromise is what I heard, although I like to say nowadays collaboration or co-creation. However, that's one that was in the original 3 C's that I heard. Okay. Communication is there. All right. And if you want to be a great leader, you have to be a great communicator. I don't know any great leader who is not a great communicator. So these two are intrinsically linked. Can we chat now more about the leadership side, please, Trish, and how important it is to be a great communicator, to be a great leader?
There's a difference between leading and managing. And managers are those people who do and institute what the leader needs to get where they're going. Mm-hmm. So that means that if you've got a team of people and you've got a vision, a mission, you know where you want to go. If you can't communicate clearly to your team, whether it's a staff of 1 or 5 or whether in a huge organization, if you can't sell your mission, you can't sell it and get them to buy into it. So what's in it for them? They're not going to follow you. You're going to get to where you're going to go and you're going to look behind you and you're there all by yourself. Or you're going to find all of you are wandering around in the wilderness. And it's a really great place to wander. Love it. Beautiful scenery. It's great. It just doesn't get much done. And it's probably not where you wanted to go. I have a really little thought, things about if you're on a boat, you've got the leader is up in the crow's nest, the manager's on the deck, and you've got your staff rowing underneath. Ooh. And if you want to get to a particular island, the manager can't see where you're going. But you need the manager to feed the people, encourage the people. But the leader is the person that's going to tell you where you're going to go because they're up there and they can see it. But it's all very well saying to everybody, oh, just row left. Oh, no, hang on, you missed it. I meant right. No. You've got to go straight ahead. Damn, we hit that rock. Well, never mind. We'll just back off and we'll try again. Well, that's not going to happen very easily. You need to be able to actually say to them, this is the direction we're going into it. This is why you need to buy into it. This is what's going to happen. Because you have to give them a reason to follow you. What's in it for them? I'm telling you, people do not follow you for nothing.
That's correct.
They don't follow you because you say to them, follow me. We're going to the land of plenty. Well, why should I need to go to the land of plenty? What is it in for me to go along with you? What am I going to get out of it? And that's where your communication skills come in. That's where understanding the people that you're leading and what's in it for them. And then being able to clearly give a direction for them to go and back it up with inspiration, facts, instruction. As far as I'm concerned, communication comes down to 3 things. Communication, speaking, whatever, presentate. What do you want to talk? It's information. So you're giving information, or you're giving instructions, or you're inspiring. Now, usually it's probably a combination of 2, sometimes 3. But unless you have all of that in there, you're not going to get your clear communication. So as a leader, if you want to get to something, you want them to change their mind, you need to be inspiring them. Mm-hmm. But you need to also be able to tell them what to do with it and how to do with it. It's what I call my equation, my communication equation. Business communication, which means that if you want to be a good leader, you need good communication skills. Mm-hmm. It's a combination of the emotional connection and the intellectual content. You need both of those to be a good leader. You need both of those to be a good communicator. And what am I talking about? Okay, apologies to all the university professors out there. However, if you've ever been to a lecture, and I'm not saying all of you, but a combination, quite a lot of a university, they'll get there and they'll dump information on you. They'll just stand up there and you might have a PowerPoint screen with stuff that you can't read, but it's about this big, but that's everything they want you to know. And they said, this is what you need to pass your exam. Thank you, goodbye, and walk off. They've given them all the intellectual content, but there really isn't, other than you need to pass the exam. And sometimes we need more motivation than that. They haven't really given any emotional connection. What's in it for them? However, then you can listen to some early morning, the really great shows that come out of America, and apologies again, but there's a lot that come out of America that have those really great, and they'll motivational speakers, the gospel speakers, and just the you go into some really great inspirational, motivational speakers. They will take you right up. I mean, and then they'll drop you down, then they'll take you up, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I am on board with this. I am with you. And they'll walk out, the audience will, and they'll stand there and they'll look at each other and they'll say, well, that's great, but what do we do now? Because you have given them all the emotional connection, but no information on what to do to get there or how to use it. So if you give them a combination of both, then you are a good communicator. You're giving them the emotional connection and you're giving them some information to tell them what to do or how to do it. Now, it doesn't have to be in balance. Sometimes it will be more inspirational, more emotional, especially if you're wanting to change a mindset, wanting to change someone's thoughts and where they're going. You're going to give a lot of that. But you've got to have that other bit in there. Otherwise, they don't know how to do it. And sometimes as a university lecturer, yeah, you're giving a lot of information to them. But hey, what's in it for them? The best teachers, the best university lecturers, the best people that I've seen give you so much information, but they give you an emotional connection. They give you a why. They give you a what's in it for me. That's done by storytelling. It's done by giving experiences about passion, about being you. And that's where the emotional connection comes in. So for a good leader, you need to have that. Otherwise, you're going to be leading a lot of robots, and you may be leading a lot of robots into the deep seas, crashing into absolute big, huge rocks, or wandering in the wilderness. And sometimes that's good, but it doesn't get things done. So
it's also about, I want to add in here, it's also about connecting their pain points. So they know their major struggles, and this is something that I'm really learning to zero in on a lot, is taking their pain points and making that connection. Here's why you need this. Here's what's going to go on. Here's what we're going to work on together. We're going to get you to that weight loss goal that you have. I had one client that, I'm not going to say the name of this one, but I have his sheet here. And I'm just going to read. So he was sharing a story with me on his first session on how I don't remember what the preface of it was, but there were there'd been people in his life that said, you're going to die before 80, most people do, and different things like that. And he kind of took that on as kind of like an identity, and he would constantly repeat things like that to his wife until his wife finally one day had enough and shot him down, as she should. But now here's what he shared with me. At that time when his wife shot him down, he made a solemn promise to his wife. He promised that he would live to be at least 80. And so now what I get to do as his coach is I get to show him how what I am teaching and what I have to give him is going to connect him to that promise of staying with his wife till at least 80. Let's go beyond that. So, that. And the other thing that he shared with me, which was really, really powerful, was that he felt, everything in his life, he's always found a way to conquer it. Has he had failure? Yes. But he's gone back and found a way to conquer it anyhow. His degrees in school, different things like that, because he's studying to be a lawyer and different things like that. Long story around what kind of lawyer and all that stuff. But so he shared that story, and he's like, but this right here, this is the one thing that I feel defeated in. And that was huge for me to hear that. I'm just like, oh, dang. Here he is. He's conquered everything else in his life, and he feels defeated right here. And so me learning my skills as a coach is learning how to connect that for him to his reason why, to what I can help him to do. And I think that's also a really powerful thing in communication. It's having the ability to connect their pain with why they need this and why they need that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I say is the most important thing when you're becoming a speaker or when you want to be a good communicator or even a good leader is listening, which is really blows people away, because I think, yeah, speaking's important. The words you use are important. The techniques and the strategies, the storytelling, they're important. But unless you really listen to the people you're trying to lead, to the audience that you want to share a message for, to your staff, to your family, unless you really listen, you can't bring those skills into play to connect, which is what you're saying. You can't connect unless you listen to find out what you're connecting and who you're connecting and why.
And it's not just always about listening. Here's what I mean by that. What I mean, so yes, listen. Actually, always listen. But there's also another thing that you need to insert there with listening, which is a skill that my current coach right now is teaching me how to do. And that's be quiet. When you ask, especially a stacked question to the person you're speaking to, become silent. Let them sit there. Be comfortable in that silence, which I have to admit is kind of challenging, because you want to feel, there's this innate instinct inside of you. You want to fill that silence space with or you want to interject, and you want to, maybe you'll give them the silence and they'll start answering. But even when they start answering, you also have to have the skill of staying silent and just listening and not trying to interject in between. And so listening, and get comfortable with the silence. Get comfortable with the awkward pauses after maybe a stacked question that has two questions in one. And then your client's like sitting there thinking, and you're going, this is awkward, silence. I mean, we all have this innate instinct that the silence in the room is awkward, and we have to fill it with something. That's where a lot of the ums come from and stuff like that, because we feel like we have to fill that silence. But I'm saying, get comfortable with it. When you ask somebody a question, be willing to sit there and let them sit there in that. Don't allow yourself. Now, I'm kind of thinking in my own mind, because this is a struggle that I know I have. Don't allow yourself to get in the mind frame of, what could they be thinking? Are they thinking this is an awkward moment? Are they thinking this? Are they thinking that? No. Stop all the chatterbox that's going to go on inside your head during that moment. Lean in, give your client the chance to really let those questions sink in. So anyhow, that's it.
Yes. Love that. And Ken and I have both, I've been diagnosed ADHD. Have you been diagnosed, Ken? ADHD?
From childhood, yes. I've said that many times on this show. Yeah.
Oh, you have. Well, there you go. You see, active listening. Here we are, 102 shows in, and I wasn't sure if you'd been diagnosed ADHD. You see, isn't that interesting? I knew that you identified as having ADHD, which actually I see as a superpower. However, on the other side of ADHD, and a lot of people have this as entrepreneurs or have versions of this, is that often we've got a million thoughts going on at any one time, right? And we can get very distracted by bright, shiny objects. We speak a million miles an hour.
Yes.
Right. And we interject all the time, and we are not naturally great at active listening, right? Or even being in the quiet or in the pause. Now, my background is 40 years in the media. Now, there's something when you're doing radio interviews, as Trish knows, having her own radio show, that is dead air. You do not want dead air when you are doing a radio show. When you are public speaking, there's something called the power of the pause. Right? And that felt really awkward right then.
Yes, it did. Actually, I saw that, and I had to fill it with an
Yeah. You see, it's so interesting when you lean in and you actually notice, and when you're actually quiet for a moment. And so there's different ways to deal with this and to to use the power of the pause, and definitely not for your TV interviews or radio interviews. Do not pause for too long because they think it's dead air. People will change channels and then you'll lose the viewers or the listeners, right? Now, this show here is online TV and it's turned into a podcast, okay, which is also in effect online radio. So you don't want to be pausing for too long when you're doing any kind of show. Ideally, there's a bit of media training for you, okay? Now, what also came up for me as both of you were sharing was a thought came to me from my teenage years, and one of the first boyfriends that I had, I was very serious with. He once upon a time he gave me a card back in the days when that was a thing to actually give people physical cards, right, as opposed to
I still do that.
You do it? Okay, fantastic. Now, he gave me a card and it had these two birds on the cover of the card. One bird was talking and the other one was kind of looking off to the side, right? There's two little birds on this branch. And the quote on the top said, "Rarely do we communicate. We just take turns talking." It was powerful. And here we've got Mike Woodcock has joined us.
I was just going to highlight that and tell you to share it because that's powerful.
There you go. See, we're on the same wavelength here. Lots of leaders mistake talking for communicating. Now, oh my gosh, I just love this topic. Now, I've done a Bachelor of Arts in Communication, majoring in media, right? And I know we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, 2 ears so that we listen twice as much as we speak. Yet how often do we speak twice as much as we listen?
Right.
So, Trish, you are a very good listener, I've noticed, because Ken and I have been talking a lot. So time to listen to you now. Active listening to Trish.
Okay. So would you like to? Look, one of the things I talk to people about is being able to answer impromptu questions, which is really great if you're going to get questions on a podcast show. It's really great if they're going to get questions from media, journalists. 2 things I say. Firstly, not everybody knows how to ask a question clearly. Everybody thinks anybody can ask questions, but sometimes the questions are not clearly asked. The first thing I always say to people is listen. And to me, that means being present in the moment. If someone is asking me a question, I'm not looking aside like that lovely little bird. What I'm doing is being present, looking at the person and right there in the moment. I call it being present in the moment. I am giving them my full attention and I'm listening all the way through, because one of the things we do, as you raised, Ken and Aldwyn, is that we don't like silence and we don't listen well, because when we're being asked a question, or too often, we are already thinking in our mind, oh my gosh, they're asking me this. What do I know? How? I don't know anything about this. What am I going to say? And then they're going to ask me something else. And by the time we've done all that, you haven't actually heard the question, because you haven't listened to the question all the way through, which means you start immediately miscommunicating because you have given them the answer to the question you thought they asked and not the question they've asked. So you listen, you be present in the moment. And then I say, if you need to clarify, because not everybody knows how to ask a question clearly. So if you're not sure, you come across extremely professional, extremely present, and you honor that person by saying, as I understand it, this is what you want to know. And that person's going to clarify, because for them, that means you have actually listened to them and you actually want to respond that will give them a proper answer. So clarifying is fine. And then you think, and this is where the silence comes in as well, because we can think twice as fast in our mind than the actual time that is going out there in the real world. But we think we have to jump in quickly because the time is going slowly out there and we need to answer something. No, we've got time to really think about what we've been asked. So you listen, you clarify, and you think, what is it I have to say about this? What is it I've got to say? Give yourself a few minutes. I would say less than a minute, but we don't want to go up, and especially if you're on, as Aldwyn said, on media. But you've got time to think of an answer. And then and only then do you answer that question. And I have a formula that I use for that, that I use all over. And there's lots of ways of answering it. And depending who you speak with, you get lots of answers. But for me, it's prep. This is my point. This is my reason. This is my example or my explanation. and this is my point, and now I'm going to shut up and not say anything else. It stops me from waffling. And that is something that extroverts who've got loads of information will waffle and take you off into the wilderness because they don't know when to stop. Introverts who are not sure how much to give can say, okay, where am I at my answer? Okay, I'm going to give a reason, I'm going to give some examples, and I'm going to stop. It is my gold nugget, and it's how I answer questions. It's how I work out my speaking. It's how I communicate. It's how I write. It's how I do my books. Now I do everything along that. Sometimes I'm combining the reason and the examples. Sometimes I'm just giving absolute short answers, and sometimes I'm giving lots of examples. But one of those things that you do with an answer like that, and it comes back to what we're talking about, being who we are and speaking from the heart, is being believable. If you answer a question with just a one-word answer, okay, you've answered the question. But if you want to be seen to be credible, then you would give a reason. This is what I think, because, and immediately you've become credible. Now, if you want to be really believable, you would then follow that up with, this is my experience, this is my expertise, these are the stories I've heard, this is why I'm saying this. So if you use a formula like that, you know how to answer, you know how to stop, and you know how to become believable and credible, which is, as I say, believable, emotional connection, credible information. It all comes and links back. So for you to be a leader, you need to listen. Then you need to learn to communicate and be present. And that means knowing exactly what you want to say, where you want to take people from here to there, and the information that you need to give them to connect with them, to get them to buy in, and then making yourself believable and credible. I think that's why I love communication and leadership. Because you know what happens if you don't get it right? If you don't get it right, miscommunication, as I said, miscommunication is probably one of the top 2 reasons why people will say their business or their company is not going well. They don't buy in to fix it, because usually when you go to say, well, what would you like training on? They'll pick all the hard skills, and they think communication is a soft skill. So even though they've actually told you that it's the biggest problem they've got, they don't go and do anything to fix it. And what happens if they don't do that? It causes loss of productivity. It causes loss of time. It causes loss of money, because you've got to keep going back and re-giving instructions, keep going back and checking, did you do what I asked you to do? Why haven't you done it? And most importantly to me, whether you're a sole business owner, you've got staff, or you've got a huge organization, miscommunication can cause loss of credibility.
Yes.
Now, credibility takes time to build. You lose it very quickly. And then it takes twice as much time to rebuild. And a lot of that is miscommunication. You didn't tell people what you were going to do, or if you did, you didn't give them enough information. You didn't follow up. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. Miscommunication has a big issue. And if you're a leader, you are supposed to be showing people where to go, and you are the person that is leading them. If you get your miscommunication wrong, you've lost your credibility, you've lost your time, your productivity, and you've lost money. Can we all afford that? No.
Oh, Trish, so much gold in that. And talking of communication, Ken's cat has just hopped into the screen. Now, animals
communicating that he's hungry. That's what that was.
There you go. You see, animals communicate in a whole other way, and they understand what you say no matter what language you speak to animals in. I guarantee it, they are understanding what you say. So communication is actually multifaceted, because we're only, really exercising to 10% of capacity when it comes to, communicating effectively and communicating in the different dimensions. And that's a whole other world, right? We're going to the 5D realm. People communicate with spirits, and, you've got psychics, and you've got people communicating with the dead, bed and with, you know, with all sorts of things, right? So with God, you know, conversations with God, that's a whole other, you know, conversation again. And, you know, coming back to being in the moment. Now, Narelle Gatti, good to see you there, Narelle. Good point, Trish, regarding being in the moment. Now, I must say, I have been so challenged by being in the moment and by listening. And I don't want to blame my European heritage for it. However, my European heritage is such that I have Greek, Turkish, Ukrainian background, and everybody talks over each other often at the one time, right? It's a very European thing. However, I have really been learning, practicing being in the moment. And one way I do this is through meditation. Every single morning, I meditate. I do things like breath work nowadays. And, you know, this is a work in progress. So wherever you're at on this journey, you know, it's perfect wherever you're at, right? You're at where you're at. Get clear on where you're at, accept where you're at. Don't make yourself wrong or make other people wrong about it. Take 100% responsibility for your life, wherever you're at in life. If you want to be a great leader, learn to be a great communicator. Learn to connect with people emotionally, like Trish said there. And this is one thing, you know, Elon Musk is saying there's going to be 1 billion humanoid robots by 2040, right? Doing things like doing our dishes and folding our clothes. Well, those robots are never going to have a heart, right? They're never going to be able to communicate like human to human communication. And this is where even more so now, it's important to have that emotional connection in our communication. And it's interesting how many people have broken up relationships or families over one thing that was said that someone didn't like, and then now they don't no longer speak to these people in their life ever again for some people. Some people don't speak to family members for 20 years because they said something they didn't like. It's like freaking grow some emotional maturity about yourself, human beings out there that we're talking to. We're not talking to the robots here in the room. We're talking about the human beings here. Now, learn to accept. I would recommend accept people exactly as they are, exactly as they're not, to learn, you know, it's like the whole serenity prayer. Now, I absolutely loved the serenity prayer, and I'm going to bring this up. We're going to wrap up very soon. But the serenity prayer is so powerful. It is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I love, 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 love that serenity prayer. And wherever you're at in life, it's absolutely perfect. You've obviously tuned in for a reason here today, and we do value you very much. And we would love to hear from you what you have got out of the show so far. And if you haven't answered our question about the 5 love languages, getting conscious to where you're unconscious is part of the thing here. To be a great leader and be a great communicator is to actually get conscious where you've been unconscious. So let us know, my friends, what is your main love language? What is your main love language? Is it acts of service? Is it words of affirmation? Is it receiving gifts? Is it quality time? Or is it physical touch? Now, when we communicate with people, we can communicate in any of these 5 love language ways. How do you like to be communicated with? And often how you like to be communicated with is often what you express in the world. So, for example, if you like to do great things for people, you will generally express that with acts of service, right? If you want to be touched, you will often touch other people. You'll know some people are very touchy-feely and some people don't like being touched at all. Do you have people in your life that say, I wish you just gave me more time? Are they whinging about how much time you're giving them? Well, they're probably quality time people. Do you have people that are constantly giving you gifts and you don't give a damn whether they give you gifts or not, because gifts is not your love language? Or do you really appreciate gifts? All right, what is it for you? Let us know. What is your love language and what have you been getting out of the show so far? Now, Trish, any final words here around communication leadership before we let people know how they can connect with you?
Look, we're all leaders at one time or another. The concept of leadership is not just because you are the CEO of a huge organization. It's not just because you are a president or you're a leader of a country. It's not even just because you might be a leader of a team or a charity organization. At one stage or another in your life, you are going to be leading. Mm-hmm. And it could be leading by example. It could be leading as inspiration. It could be leading because you start your business. There's all sorts all sorts of meanings to leadership. And quite often I think we focus on that one concept. Now, each of those, it doesn't matter which sort of leader you are. We didn't get into a lot of leadership, but one of the things I like about leadership is I feel personally is that we make it too complex. I think we have all these sub-genres of leadership, subheadings of leadership, with this sort of leadership, with that sort of leadership. Perfectly, to me, it comes down to three things. Do I want to make sure that in this particular time with this particular people, what we're doing, they need to do what I tell you right now? That's directive leadership. No ifs and buts. Or at this particular time with the people and the project I've got, I actually want to have some input from people. That's people that are asking for you to have leadership. They're prepared to hear you out. And then at other times it could be, hey, I trust who I've got. I know who I've got. I know what they're doing. Here's the problem, and I'll go away and you come back, and then I'll come back and see what you've got to say. I believe that those three things are basically the foundations of all leadership. All the others are subcategories of that. But I think if you look at that and answer that question, then you know what sort of leadership you're going to do, and you know what sort of communication. Because if you don't want anybody to have it, it's really like an emergency situation. You haven't got time to involve people in getting what their view. You've got to make a decision now. Your communication will be extremely direct. If you are happy to have some involvement, then your communication is going to indicate, I want to hear what you've got. We've got this particular thing, and you have to be clear that you're prepared to have comment. So your communication will be involving people. If you are happy for them to make the decision, then your communication is going to say, hey, this is clearly what the problem is, because you want them to make a decision. So make sure you give them the clear parameters, when you need the answer by, what the problem is, and what time they've got. Then you can walk away and come back. So when you divide those three, that's from my perspective, how you can clearly work out the communication style you want with the leadership style you've got, along with all the other things that we've been speaking about. So I want you to know who you are, believe in what you're doing, and understand that you're the person that's responsible for your actions. You're not responsible for how other people react. You're only responsible for how you are going to respond to that. And take responsibility for those actions and believe in yourself.
Amen.
And make sure you get speaking and communication skills.
Right. Exactly. Wow. So powerful.
Amen. Love that. Love that, Trish. Thank you so much. Now, if people want to connect with you or be in one of your future books or anything like that, how can they do that? How do you work with people?
Look, I mentor. I'm a speaker mentor, and my passion is helping you to have that confidence to speak and to stand up and be the unicorn. I do a lot of what I do is helping you to craft your signature presentation. I work closely with you, and that means that you know what you want to say, and we work on a 10 to 20 minute, which you can expand or contract. And that could be anything to do with being able to talk about your business, being able to present in a company. So you can contact me, go to Trish Springsteen, just put Trish Springsteen and look for the Purple Lady. You cannot miss me. And I'm open to having a free communication with you. That's my website's going up there. You can go to calendly.com and book in for a conversation there as well. I'm happy to have a free conversation. I do workshops. So connect with me. Look for my next workshop. I have a magazine. I'm the editor of Speak Up with Trish. You can even subscribe to that. And that'll have a lot of information about where you can catch me and what I'm doing.
Wonderful.
And I'd love to work with you.
Thank you, Trish. You're an absolute gem. I love the whole purple unicorn as well. So cool. TrishSpringsteen.com. Connect with Trish, TrishSpringsteen.com for those on audio. Thank you, Trish. And do you have a favorite quote or motto you'd like to share with us, Trish?
People who follow me often hear me talk about my 60 seconds of insane courage, which is how to overcome your fear or your doubts about doing something. Now, that 60 seconds, which is 20 seconds to acknowledge the fear, 20 seconds to be positive, and 20 seconds to say yes, comes from one of my favorite quotes. And it goes, sometimes all you need is just 20 seconds of insane courage, just literally 20 seconds of embarrassing bravery. And I promise you, something great will come from it. And that's from Benjamin Nee, the movie We Bought a Zoo. There's a book too as well.
Wow.
And that struck a really great resonance with me, and why I pulled out of that my 60 seconds of insane courage.
Love it, Trish. You're an absolute gem. Thank you so much for being on our show today, and with very short notice, I might add. So thank you so much. We're actually on a BX meeting just before this, and this is the thing. Proximity is power as well, and building relationships over time. Trish and I, as I say, have known each other probably at least 10 years. So it's been a wonderful journey, and great to see you, pop up at different times in my life and our connections, and so lovely to chat about this topic. Thank you for being our guest, Trish. Now, Ken, for people who want to work with you, how do you work with people, and how can they connect with you?
Did you forget what you were going to say for a second there?
No, not at all. No.
Okay. No, you had a awkward pause there for just a second. No.
Oh, because I was about to listen to, because I felt Trish was about to say something. That's what that was about.
Okay.
So
I was like, wait a minute. Wait.
And I was practicing active listening for a moment, would you believe? Just for a moment, because I thought.
Oh, that's great. All right, you guys. Well, if you haven't been able to tell already, I am a weight loss coach. My brand is Mastery Weight Loss. It's not weight loss. It is mastery weight loss, because that is the difference. So I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've kept it off for over 7 years now. And I've had that be sustainable without a diet, all the things. And that's exactly what I teach my clients. And right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you lose weight, feel energized, and get healthy without starving yourself, and especially without dieting, in just 3 powerful sessions with me. I have a boot camp that exposes the 3 biggest lies keeping people stuck, sick, and overweight, and I show them how to fuel their body God's way so that they can break free and keep the weight off for life. And so that's a mini educational boot camp series, is 3 powerful sessions with me. The information for all of that can be found in the link here that Aldwyn's got on the screen, www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. The button to click and check that out and to join my mini educational boot camp is right there at the top. There's 3 other buttons on that page. One is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Great content going out there. Another one is to connect with me on Facebook. And then there's a third one there. Get on a strategy call with me, a discovery call. Let's unpack what's going on and how I can help you and direct you. That discovery call, strategy call, it is free. You got nothing to lose, but those extra pounds, you have everything to gain, in the right way though. So that's how you can connect with me. www.mastery, MASTERY, weightloss.com/connect. Now, I have 2 interesting, they're kind of quotes. They're kind of more inspirations. And this first one has been inspired by Paul Saladino, which is a person I do follow. He is the author of the book, The Carnivore Code. And no, I'm not carnivore. I don't teach diets. But he does have some good stuff. And so here's the quote. The truth does not need marketing. It needs courage. Here's the second one I want to share. And this one is just a random one here. Leaders who avoid truth in communication are not leading. They are managing comfort zones. And I'll leave you with that.
Oh, that's good, Ken. That's so good. Managing comfort zones. Oh, that's where the growth happens, outside the comfort zone. And we're talking about communication and leadership. You are definitely going to be stepping out of your comfort zone again and again and again and again. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, Ken. And now, before I get to how people can work with me and my favorite quote today, I want to thank everyone who has joined us live today. I'd love to hear from you. We've got Narelle Gaddy. She says, I love the Serenity Prayer. And I've actually popped into the chat the full version of the Serenity Prayer. So have a look at that, because as I was doing a bit of Googling in the background, yes, I was multitasking, and yes, I can multitask often. In fact, I know it's not the best practice. However, I was multitasking. I admit it, I own it. And I've shared there the Serenity Prayer full version, which you can check out. I also want to thank those on Instagram. I can see Samala's joined us, Emma Sydney, Robert Mull always hops on our shows. Thank you so much. Let us know, what have you got out of this episode so far? If you've really enjoyed it, please share the love, like our Total Truth Show Facebook page. We would love to build up our reviews on Spotify as well, on our podcast platforms. So please hop along there. We would love to hear your feedback if you enjoy our show. And now, for those who want to connect with me, hop along to, I'll get to it, scrolling through the comments. Here we go. On linktree/Aldwyn is where you'll find all my links. That is linktr.ee/Aldwyn. At the top there, you'll see I have a free resource on my website, which will give you a download of top 5 tips to gain TV exposure. A lot of people ask me, how do you get on TV? Well, I have my top 5 tips there, which you can get off my website. Also, we have free every month the Global Good News Challenge. And I see Narelle Gaddy is on here today, and Narelle's done quite a few Global Good News Challenges. Thank you, Narelle. And thank you to all of our Good News Crusaders who've been sharing gratitude and good news every single month for the last 5 years. I am so grateful for you. It makes the world of difference to not just lift your energy, but lift the energy of those around you, to have us focus more on gratitude and less on things to whinge about, because very easy to whinge, right? In fact, I invite you to look right now, to actively listen to yourself right now. Are you whinging about something as you're watching us or listening to us right now? Are you whinging about something in the background? Or are you being grateful for whatever that thought just came up in your head right then, right? Are you looking for the things to appreciate in what's going on in your life right now, whether they're challenges or whether they're not challenges, whether things are flowing smoothly or whether they're not flowing smoothly? Life is a roller coaster ride, right? And it's in the lowest points in life. We go up and down, up and down, up and down in life. The lowest points is where we get the biggest learnings, we get the biggest growth. And what I know about leaders is that they are constantly taking on their life. They're constantly looking at what is possible, what is next, what change can they impact in the world. All right. And I invite you to share with us, what is that for you? What is the change that you want to make in the world? And one of my favorite quotes is by Gandhi: be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Although I do also have a relevant quote today I'm going to share also around our topic, for my favorite quote. Now, for those who want to work with me, want to be seen, heard, and known, then reach out, send me a private message on my main Facebook platform is the best place to reach me. You'll find all the links there. Subscribe to my YouTube channel right here, Aldwyn Altuney Media Queen TV. Please subscribe. Looking to build up the subscribers so we can give you even more great content. We have thousands of videos on there. We've had hundreds of thousands of views on a YouTube channel now, and we're looking to grow that more and reach more people with more inspiring messages. Thank you so much for that. Now, my other quote today I want to share with you is: listen with curiosity, speak with honesty, act with integrity. The greatest problem with communication is we don't listen to understand. We listen to reply. When we listen with curiosity, we don't listen with the intent to reply. We listen for what's behind the words. Listening with curiosity. And that's by Roy T. Bennett, author. Thank you, Roy, for that wonderful quote. Thank you once again, everyone who's joined us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. Thank you, or anywhere else you're tuning in right now. Thank you. Please share the love. Let us know, what is your love language? What have you got out of the show? Share this interview or video with others in your community if you feel they will benefit. Any final words, Ken or Trish, before we wrap up today?
Not at all.
I accept with gratitude the opportunity
Woohoo.
to be
We
on
were
the
happy to
show.
have you on tonight's show as well. Thank you so much for coming,
Thank you.
Trish. You gave so much value in the conversations that we have had tonight. So thank you.
I
Yes.
appreciate
And you know what's so cool about this is that, like, being spontaneous in life, you know, we had a guest lined up for this show from 2 weeks ago who last minute pulled out right before the show. And I was on an event with Trish, a BX networking event online, where she was talking about saying yes. Right. And so I put her on the spot in front of everyone. I said, now, Trish, actually, there's an opportunity here straight after this BX meeting to come and be a guest on our show. And she said yes. So thank you for saying yes, Trish. Really appreciate you. And see, I was listening. See, I was listening for at least part of it anyway. No, well, it's a work in progress, actively listening, right? Anyway, sending you all much love. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Ken. 102nd episode, Total Truth Show. Wrapping up right now. Thank you for joining us, everyone out there as well. Sending you much love. Here's to an awesome day ahead. We'll see you next time on Total Truth Show. Bye for now. Bye. See you. Bye.